not looking so much for a role model. See, I don't like that category of role model, because a role model implies you want to engage in imitation. All imitation is suicide. You want to find your own voice. So you can be inspired. You look for inspiration, but not imitation. Now for me, it was Martin Luther King Jr. And it was Martin Luther King Jr. because he was a love warrior all the way down until the end.
Right.
He never sold out, willing to pay the ultimate price, but most importantly, like a good jazz musician, he's always willing to grow. He listened, he learned, he absorbed, he connected, he tried to treat others right to the best of his ability. Now, he was not perfect. We know that. Martin was a human being like anybody else. So in that sense, again, he was made not to be imitated, but to build on his example. And I heard Martin Luther King speak when I was 10 years old. I understood about 2% of the words. But it was like a Curtis Mayfield concert. He was for real. You could feel it. I was 10 years old, couldn't understand the word, but I said to myself, this Negro, he's the real thing. Now, I don't always get that with preachers. But the Clarence, I think he's the real thing too. I know it's true. And it comes to both genders. I've heard some sisters preach, it's the real thing. But it's fewer and fewer these days because it's through superficiality that you end up being popular. You know, Creflo dollars and so forth. You know what I mean? The president, they grow every day. Money, 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 money. The commodified religion, the chamber of commerce religion, the market-driven religion, prosperity gospel. That's how you get a mega church. But the criteria of any church is not how mega your church is, it's how mega the love is in your church. Where is the mega courage in your church? Martin King, mega love, mega courage. He didn't have a big church in Dexter. He didn't have a big church in Atlanta. But he had folk who were on fire.
Right.
Love and justice. But of course these days this giganticism equals greatness. That's a lie. That's a lie. You see, you all see the point I'm making? All right, I have to
My name is Shea Marie from Virginia, Stillwater,
speak right there. Your sister has the mic there.
My name is Shea Marie from Virginia at Clearwater High, and I have 2 questions. Is that okay?
Sure.
First question is, growing up in Sacramento as a young boy, and then going around places talking now, what are some things that you saw back then that you don't see now, other than outside of love, and also the leaders? What are some things that you saw? And then my second question is, what are your, for all of you guys, what are your views on, instead of Black Lives Matter, but All Lives Matter?
I'll be very brief though, because when I was in 3rd grade, I got kicked out of school. And no school would take me in the whole district. I was in Cornel then, you know. And I say that because
You got kicked out of school there?
community elementary school. Yeah, because I refused to salute the flag.
Oh, that happened.
You can say that. Because I had a great uncle who was lynched and they put the flag around his body, so I had bad connotations of the flag. You can imagine.
You were traumatized.
But the crucial thing was, my dear brother, I got a second chance. There's a lot. I've taught in prison now 37 years, teaching course right now on Broadway, and I see depression brothers come through, and we talk stories and so forth. And so many of them, they don't get a second chance. They get caught one time, and they get caught in the whole prison industrial complex, New Jim Crow. They get a felon, they can't get a job, can't get a housing, they access to housing, and get caught over and over again. So I could have easily, if I was growing up now, given my gangster proclivity, ooh, you can imagine what I would be. You see what I mean? But my mama loved me so. She would drive me all the way to the other side of town to one school that would take me. Then she traveled all the way on the other side of town when she was a first grader. She became a principal, now she got a school named after her, Ivy B. West in Sacramento. But she was there to catch me when I was falling.
Amen.
We don't have enough folk to catch our precious sisters and brothers.
Can I respond to the second question? Yeah, the second question was regard to Black Lives Matter versus All Lives Matter. It's reminiscent of President Obama's State of the Union last night, where he talked about a moonshot program with regard to curing cancer, and it was if one of his critics would say, well, what about malaria? What about AIDS? Why are you just focusing on cancer? I mean, don't all diseases matter? But I think the point is, of course, that if an environmentalist says that they want to save the rainforest, and then one of the critics says, what about all forests? Don't all forests matter? I think that it's understandable and justifiable why black youth, as Cornel suggested, when they look at the proportions and the percentages, that is to say, being overwhelmingly represented when it comes to police killings, that people feel that there's something deeper going on. I didn't have the opportunity to talk about this book I published on the founding of the United States, where I suggested, among other things, that the attempt to evade the abolition of slavery, which was growing apace in London, was a motive force for the revolt against British rule in 1776. And overwhelmingly and disproportionately, the black population sided with the redcoats. They didn't side with George Washington at all, which helps to explain why, in some ways, we're still catching hell. Because when you fight a war and lose, you're guaranteed that you and your descendants forevermore will be punished and pulverized unless and until you can turn the tables on them, which we did by lifting the battlefield and gathering international support. And likewise, when I teach and I talk about the abolition of slavery, I talk about the fact that the most important property in the United States in 1861 was the property of enslaved Africans. And what happened as a result of the U.S. Civil War was that property was nullified. That property was taken without compensation. And usually I go over to a student, and as they're fiddling with their smartphone, I snatch their smartphone and say, I've just done to you what happened to the slave owners in 1865. I've taken your property without compensation. Now, you're not very happy about that, are you? And that's what happened to the slave owners. Now, imagine billions of dollars of property taken, and the property itself then walking around in Florida acting very cheeky about it. Obviously, that generates a lot of resentment, a lot of furor. It generates a Ku Klux Klan. And of course, it helps to undergird and explain the kind of terror that's being inflicted on the black population to this very day, who revolted against being part, understandably, of a slaveholders' republic and have been catching hell ever since. So I think it's understandable and justifiable why black youth form a group called Black Lives Matter, because they're not only trying to deal with the immediate question of stopping police killing, but trying to deal with these undercurrents, these underlying issues, which helps to explain why we're subjected to so much terror.